I would not call this a failure, but I would say that there is room for improvement. Well, I'm finally going to do it. I've teased it a couple of times in prior videos, but it's time to harvest the garlic. And you know, it's midweek here, and we had a rain last night. What's with it, right? We have this really hot weather, and then just rain, kind of randomly. Um, I'm debating whether the rain is enough to really not water at all. I think it's probably enough to not water the main beds, but I'll probably still have to water the small cell trays that I still have going and some of the things in the holding area. But that's beside the point when it comes to harvesting garlic. That's just a side note of the current weather conditions. Back to the harvesting garlic, I've got a bunch in here, so I'm gonna be reaching in here and grabbing it out, and then just gonna lay it off to the side on the wall probably, usually with garlic, and then I'll come back and I'll get it all together and I'll wrap it up and then put it on a shelf in the garage to dry. Usually after you harvest garlic, you want to let it dry for a little bit before it's quote-unquote ready. That's the idea. Okay, and as I've said in prior videos, I don't actually know what happened to my softneck garlic. It disappeared. So I think everything I'm harvesting today will be hardneck garlic, but we'll see. Maybe I'll find it in the process as we run into it. And some of these look like they're going to be quite small. It's a little bit unusual. I have a kind of a little bit unusual situation here. Ridiculous. This is comically small, right? Now, this is all dried here, so I mean, that's pretty much it, right? And then this is just comically small, so I may as well just throw that out. So maybe what I'll do is I'll do two piles. I'll do one where I just kind of throw it off to the side, and then one on the wall that I have for the garlic that I'm going to keep, but I'm just going to throw that one off to the side to come back and pick up later, because that is not something that will be worth trying to mess with. And I got another one in here that's probably comically small as well. Yeah. Okay, that one's small, but it still could be good eating, so keep something that size. I'm gonna put it over here. And the soil that I have in this long bed here is basically the consistency of potting mix until it gets into the patch created by hedges that I've complained about in prior videos. So at least in this area, it's very easy to just pluck out. Like I don't need to do digging yet, but you may see me get in here with my garden knife and start digging them out if I have to. There we go. That's a reasonably sized one there. This one's not as dry, but so it could go a little bit longer maybe, but I'd rather just get them all out at the same time. Oh. So small, but serviceable. As my brother-in-law always says about food, that if you ask him how the food was, he'll tell you it's either bad or serviceable. I'm gonna check. I am, on a positive note, my garlic's not turning out that great so far over here, but one positive note is that as I'm in here, I'm seeing some bulb onions that are actually swelling up. So usually those come out later, toward the end of this month of July, or maybe beginning of August is when I would harvest those. And yeah, maybe we'll get some bulbs of reasonable size to show off. Ones that I've seen that were more obvious to me are the red bulbing onions, but there were some Walla Wallas in here and some shallots as well. I'm gonna check and I'm just looking around to see, there might be some behind you all here. Oh, well, you know what is here though, that I will go ahead and grab over here is some summer squash. We're gonna have to start giving it away now. I didn't think we would get to that point that quickly. We're starting to get a backlog of summer squash. There we go, just the right size. Drop those over here where I can see them. I know I'm gonna miss some. They're kind of, so many of my eyes will glaze over it because it's all a sea of green. Let me pull you all this way so you can join me on continuing this garlic hunt. In my imagination, I had a lot more of these, but so far, not as many as I remembered. There's one hiding back here. It's a little bitty one. That's a garbage one. Okay. Last year I grew these in containers in the whiskey barrels. Where I'm growing tomatoes this year, I grew garlic. And I thought growing them in this bed I might get a better result because it was real ground, so to speak, but no, I'm not getting a better result here. So maybe go back to containers next year. Of course, maybe hopefully I'll have the east side retaining wall project done and I'll have more options for where I'm planting garlic. Although you plant garlic in late September, October, maybe even early November, that kind of time frame. And so the way things are going, I don't know, will I actually have the retaining wall project done and have those beds available then? I'm not sure. Well, we'll see, I guess. It smells like garlic. These are leeks here, so that's just, if you've seen in my prior videos, I'm just leaving them there for decoration. I'm hearing the squirrels back there, back along here. They're just beyond the fence. That tree that just shoots branches everywhere is a Oregon filbert, a hazelnut tree, and it's a squirrel paradise. So right now they're dropping those hazelnuts, throwing them around, cracking them open, throwing them around everywhere. And then along the fence line that way, back over there on the neighbor side of the fence is a black walnut. And so they're throwing these all over the driveway. They're dropping on the driveway too, but the squirrels are helping out for sure. And then they'll bury those all kinds of places as well. I'll find them in pots and things. I've seen in my comments some folks have complained about just the squirrels wreaking havoc on their plants. I haven't had that this year yet. A lot of times towards the fall, I start to have it. I think they start to run out of they may run out of things, or they maybe get thirsty, or, you know, as the summer wanes on, it gets hotter and drier, and maybe they're lacking some water sources sometimes. And then sometimes I see that they've kind of gotten into tomatoes or fruits or things. But yeah, I've had squirrel problems in the past, but this year so far, I haven't seen anything that indicates they're tearing things up yet. All right, let's skin garlic. Got one right here. Okay, now we're getting into okay, there. That's my biggest one yet. Okay, I'm laughing because it's the biggest one. It's not a particularly large garlic. So this one's on the borderline of what I would keep, but what I wanted to show you was as you leave them in the ground longer, the side paper will fray and they'll start to come apart like this here. And so that, you know, that's a sign that this for sure was ready to come out. Now this is still, aside from the size being small, this would otherwise still be good eating. It's not bad or anything. It may not save as long as the other garlic if it's already started to split apart like that, but it's fine. For my purposes, I'm going to be chopping it up to put with my spicy sauce, my summer refrigerated spicy sauce. Okay, now we got this is the size we're really looking for right here. This is what I would say is more of a normal size garlic right here. There you go. There we go. So why did this one bulb up and the others didn't? I don't know. Maybe just the water, access to water was better. Maybe I didn't crowd this one as much. Maybe it got sun at the right time or or didn't get too much sun at the wrong times. It's, you know, so many factors. I'm not sure. If you have ideas, go ahead and share them with me. I'd love to hear that. This one looks like it's going to be a real girl here. Well, this is it. This is the garlic harvest. Like I said, I didn't find any of the softneck garlic, so I don't know what happened to those. Maybe I was mentioning earlier that the squirrels hadn't been a problem this year, but maybe they dug up the garlic last fall And for whatever reason, maybe they focused on digging up the softneck garlic instead of the hardneck garlic. But in any case, this is the hardneck garlic. There's only a couple that are like what I would consider real full, kind of close to full size. The rest are smaller than they should be, or that I want them to be. But that's something we'll have to work on in terms of how do I grow bigger garlic in the driveway garden environment and the restricted space that we have here. What are the factors that are causing these to be smaller, and what can I do for next year that might make them be bigger? So this is enough to play with in the kitchen. Not too bad. I got a modest harvest here. So I'm happy enough with it. There's plenty else going on in the garden to move on to next, and there'll be things that don't work out exactly the way I want, and there'll be things that will be super successful and beautiful, and that's how gardening goes. I would not call this a failure, but I would say that there is room for improvement. Definitely. All right, I'll see you all later. So these shelves are what we use for seedlings, but now that we are past mid-July, at this point the shelves are pretty empty. I may fire the seedling factory up again soon because I'm looking at giving it a go on planting fall crops. Historically, I haven't done that well at that, and what I found is that at this point, I may still have some stragglers. I had some stragglers a couple weeks ago when it came to broccoli and kale and things like that, and so all of that stuff that I was putting in the ground a couple weeks ago essentially are my fall planting. Not only that, but as I've discussed maybe on some prior videos, the kale that was planted this year will continue on. It'll probably continue on until next year. So as long as I'm just cutting the leaves, those plants will actually be producing for me into the fall until it's just too cold for them to produce. So I don't have, with limited room, it's like, well, where am I gonna put a round of fresh seedlings anyway, right? But there are some things that I think we can do. I think do another round of beans before the season's over, because it looks like my bush beans are about ready to harvest, and then they'll be done kind of with their main flush, and then I'll take them out, and it would have been ideal for me to already have some plants ready to go, but I can plant another round before the end of the season, I think, on those. That's not really a fall crop, but that's just something that I could be planting now. And then the other piece would be giving it a try, maybe doing some of the Asian greens. So maybe I'll try some more bok choys and some Chinese cabbage and maybe some Chinese broccoli and things like that. I think try some regular broccoli. I'm not eager to try cabbages or sprouts right now, because I think if I really was going to give that a go, I should have planted those from seed maybe 30 days ago, and better plants ready to go in the garden in the next 15 days or so to actually have kind of fall plants. So that's just some quick thoughts, but actually why I came over here was not to talk about the potential for planting more seeds. I just kind of got on that tangent because of all these empty shelves. What I actually came to talk about was just kind of share the garlic. This was the garlic harvest here. We did out in the beds, and as you saw, it was a fairly modest harvest. But the other mystery thing for me this year was, for some reason, my softneck garlic just kind of got swallowed up by the garden. It just disappeared. I don't know where it went. But these are all hardneck garlics here. And so I pulled it, and the question probably that often many of you are asking is, when is it time to pull your garlic? And if you're in my area, it's probably it's time or past time. Depends on exactly when you plant it in the fall as well. Here, you would know is that when the stalk is here, usually what you're looking for is like half of the leaves to be brown. And in this case, all of the leaves are brown. Now, I just pulled this out of the ground yesterday. So, you could say, well, it's out of the ground, of course the leaves are brown. Well, they wouldn't have browned that much overnight like that. So really, this is a good example of garlic that is for sure, arguably past done. Like if I had pulled it maybe a week before, when 2 or 3 of these leaves were still green, that would have been the technical right time potentially to pull it there. Fortunately, even though I'm suggesting this might have been pulled a little bit late, you can see here the head splitting apart, right? It isn't off of it, and the clothes are not coming off of it. So it was a fair timing for that. I think I showed this in the garden, but I'll see if I can find it here to show again, because I had at least one where it was an example of something that then is past due. Yeah. These two are kind of these are also very small. These two are also very small, but you can kind of see it here. You see the papers come off, and the cloves are kind of separating, that generally means that's past due, right? The cloves here are separating, that generally means it's past due. So aside from these being small, which is kind of a different issue, what does the fact that they're past due, what will that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Assuming I want to keep them and use them, that they probably wouldn't save as long as the ones that were harvested at the better time. Still, they'll still be fine for eating for a while. And the thing is, I don't have such a big harvest anyway, that I don't have such a large harvest. This is, I'll get through this garlic in the period of time that this has before it goes bad. so it's okay. And I'll use this for sauces and stuff. My family is so busy that they rarely use garlic. They rarely use fresh garlic like that where they have the clove and chop it. We're getting like frozen pre-chopped garlic that are being used usually in recipes. And if I want to get this into the kitchen, into the rotation, I need to take it into the kitchen and kind of chop it up myself and have it ready so that it's something easy that my wife can grab and put into I need to compete with what comes from the supermarket with my garden veggies. And that's always been a fun challenge for me, is like, how can I compete to make my stuff look as good and ready? Obviously, it's obviously more fresh, but you know, the stuff at the supermarket is curated to look really nice. So that caused me to up my game, to be like, well, if I want to get my stuff on the dinner table, I've got to compete, because my wife otherwise is, she's buying good produce that looks great and using it in home cooked meals year round. So in season, I gotta show up if I want to compete with that and get my stuff into the rotation. So I'll probably do that. Maybe I'll do a video on that at some point, is just me in the kitchen chopping this up and getting it prepared so that it becomes part of something that looks and to use in a recipe. Well, the other thing I wanted to say about the garlic, aside from how did I know when to pick it, is what am I with it now? So this time of year, about me not having a bunch of seedlings on the racks, is that I can use it to dry my garlic, and later I'll be able to use it to dry the onions. So through most alliums, unless you're picking spring onions or bunching onions, the scallions, garlic, your shallots, your bulb onions, that kind of stuff, typically you want to dry them. Bulb onions, actually, I think when they do it in the farms on the field, they'll pull them out of the ground, they'll just lay them on the side of the field and let them dry right there. Like with softneck garlic, that's typically where you see people braid it up and hang it up, and the whole purpose of them braiding it and hanging it up is for it to dry and cure. So it's called curing, and so we're waiting. So this has been here for a day or so, so it'll be here for another week or so, and then it should be cured, which just means that it's in a place where it's got good airflow, not too hot, not too cold, good airflow on these open racks, and then that skin dries up around it, and the totally dries out, and then it's better set for saving, right? Most people wouldn't just store garlic in the fridge anyway, but if you juxtapose that, if you say, well, what else would you do, right, with your garlic? Well, you might think, let me chop it up now and get it into the fridge for, if you did that now, it probably wouldn't last as long as having cured it, is the whole concept. So that's it. We're curing it now. We'll have it ready in a week or so from now. Well, that's garlic. You saw me harvest it. You saw we talked like how I knew when to harvest it and curing it. It's time, and if you haven't pulled yours yet, give it a good look. It's probably ready.